Hi, I'm Ben of Mix Up YouTube here to do an episode recap of the new episode of Marvel Spider-Man. In this episode, it begins with, no, spoiler alert, but in this episode, it begins with the Jackal, yeah, running around. Oh, and then later we got introduced to Gwen Stacy, who looks really pretty, and she gives some sciencey advice to Spider-Man. Now, I actually heard, because after when I watched this, I actually watched reviews of people talking bad of how bad this series is, and I heard some of the animation has no shadows, but when I see the backgrounds with the buildings, they seem to have shadows. So maybe it's just the buildings but not the characters. Now I already said this before, but if you watch like Legend of Korra or Voltron, the animation has a similar look, but if you don't like it, if you want me to badmouth it, I guess it does look like a dollar store comparison to the animation. But really, it's decent for its own animation. And then later, when it goes to Oscorp, or we got introduced to Otto Octavius, who I forgot to mention in the last episode. Otto Octavius, he was like a kid or something. In the comics, he's like an older man, a scientist, and he's like older than Peter, but here he's fighting with his friend and with her sonic dampers, and it's like, yeah. And then at the end, Otto Octavius gets chosen, and it's up to Spider-Man to save the day. And and apparently Otto and apparently Gwen Stacy helps him out. It's like, why don't you do this? And since this is basically Spider-Man's first day, he makes a few mistakes. But I never seen Jameson yet in this show. Jameson has not appeared yet, but he's like, but he now has some excuses to accuse him of being a menace. But really, no. In this episode, yeah. So the friends who fight each other, yeah, aren't really friends. They're like, no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. But they're like, well, stop fighting. And they're just fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting. And they're like, let's end it here. And they're like fighting. Yeah, worst bunch of friends ever. Yeah, I think it's obvious that they're going to become villains later. So after that, they fought Spider-Man saves the scientist that was caused by those two boys, and then it was up to Spider-Man. And again, Harry accuses him of being a menace, because like in every source material, no matter how much the origin story changes, or no matter what they do that changes the source material, like Osborn's design, like Harry's design, or anything else, Harry always hates Spider-Man. Yeah, but at least they stay true to that. They stay to the most famous tradition. Harry hates Spider-Man. So in this so in this episode we got introduced to Norman Osborn, who has orange hair but his son has black hair. Now, forgive me if that's offensive, but it's just simple genetics, but yeah, so I don't know, maybe some parent has orange hair and a child has black hair, and I'm sorry that I offended you for anyone who has that, and I'm sorry that I offended you. But yeah, so later in the episode, so later in the fl so wait, so later Osborn's like, let's see how much these kids do, and he does his own evil, diabolical things, and he's like, let's see how bad they'll fight, and yeah, he's risking to cause millions of dollars in property damage just to see who kids fight to the death. Yeesh, well, he's basically the villain, but yeah, so I forget his name, but he's husky. He has orange hair. He's opposed to this. He's like he disagrees with Osborn's problem. He's like, this is wrong, and yeah, no duh. But anyways, so we get introduced to Gwen Stacy, and Peter's like, oh my gosh, Gwen, because he can't mention they first saw him as Spider-Man because due to that. But hey, look at the poster I got from the show. So someday she'll be Spider-Gwen. Also, that girl in between Spider-Man and Spider-Gwen is that girl. I think her name is Spider-Girl in there, and she's a different Spider-Girl. But I but she blamed Spider-Man. But she blamed Peter again. I still upset that you wrecked my machine thingy. What did he do to wreck it? He saved the day. There's literally no reason for her to be mad. But yeah, so sorry if this recap isn't very good. I'm kind of new to these, and I think Black Nerd Comedy is more better than me at his Ninja Turtle shows than I am. But anyway, so after when Spider-Man stops the fight, the Jackal appears, and at the very end of the episode, it's revealed that he's Gwen Stacy's uncle. Yeah, because I thought he was gonna be Captain Stacy, but no, I don't think they could have done that. But here he's Gwen Stacy's uncle. I don't know if he was Gwen Stacy's uncle in the comics, but I do know that if he in the comics, like the early around 80s, 70s, I don't know. Oh, the Jackal actually clones Gwen Stacy, and if you're thinking clones, that sounds familiar. Yeah, and then because if you remember watching the Spider-Man show from the mid 90s, this science guy cloned, spoiler alert, clones Mary Jane, and it's kind of similar to that, but I don't know if they're going to do the cloning experiment here again, but who knows. But also at the end, they show Osborn's inventions that are kind of the same gadgets that the Green Goblin has, so I don't know if Norman Osborn or Harry are going to be the Green Goblin in the first, but in the comics, Norman Osborn is the Green Goblin, and then Harry finds out and he's hurt by Spider-Man, and then he becomes the Green Goblin. But yeah, in the movie The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Harry actually becomes the Green Goblin first, and Norman Osborn dies in the movie, but who knows what could happen here. Well, that's my recap. I hope you like that episode or hate that episode. This show's getting a lot of hate, but I kind of enjoy it. Sometimes Spider-Man can be too joyful and don't take things too seriously and kind of makes a butt of himself, but let's see where this show goes. So I'm Ben of Mix Up YouTube, and you'll probably see some new videos and new recaps, and take care.